Please be seated. Happy fall. I know it doesn't feel like that today, but happy fall. It's good to see all of you. Welcome. Welcome to all of you who have been here hundreds of times, and to you who maybe are here for the first time or any time in between, and welcome to those of you who are online. Welcome to this community of faith. What does that mean, to be a community of faith? Because it's different than being a community of ukulele players or Stoic philosophers or sci-fi nerds, right? I mean, those are different communities. Although, granted, given who your rector is, there's a pretty big overlap here in the sci-fi fantasy religion Venn diagram. But being a community of faith is not the same thing as being a pickleball league, is it? So if we're not simply a meetup group, then what are we? Community also often refers to a locality, but that doesn't even apply to us, because how many of you don't even live in Brookline or are watching from another state? What does it mean to be a community? What does it mean to be a community of faith? This section of Matthew's gospel is all about community, about how to live in community and what to do when conflict inevitably occurs, when people get worked up and caught up in their own stuff and hurt one another. This section of the gospel is the early church. It's Matthew's community of mostly Jewish followers of Christ trying to work out how to live with one another when there are both Jews and Gentiles in the mix. They're trying to figure out how to coexist with people from different families and different localities, some with profoundly different practices and passionately held but radically different beliefs. How do you create community out of that? Well, it's not easy, is it? And there is bound to be friction. But generally, a community has to cohere around something in common. The word community shares a root with the word common, and so by definition, a community is a group that shares something in common. So what do we have in common? My friend and teacher Sam Pitaro likes to say that Christians are a people who have absolutely nothing in common except Jesus. And that was certainly true in Matthew's time, and it's very often still true today. And it's important to remember when you find yourself in a heated debate about liturgy or doctrine or hymn selection, or even if you find yourself just getting irritated about mistakes in the bulletin. The one thing that all Christians have in common, maybe the only thing, is Jesus. So that's one thing, but we say this is a community of faith. We are primarily Christian, but this community is not exclusively Christian, is it? There are beloved people who belong to this community who are not Christian. And there are others who are not sure whether they're Christian or not. So we need a broader sense of what we have in common and what it means to be a community. Do you notice that Matthew never uses the word community? He uses a Greek word that often gets translated as church, but really it means to be called out of. A community of faith, a church, is a group of people who have been called out of the world and called to God. So there's one thing, whether Christian or not, that I think we all have in common. No matter who you are, or where you are from, or where you are on your journey to God or with God, if you are here regularly, I think it means that there is something in you. There is some part of you, no matter how large or how small, there is some part of you that longs for God, for the divine. And maybe you call that beauty or peace or inspiration or wholeness or Jesus, but it's there in you. It's that part of you that looks around at all of the beauty and all of the tragedy in the world, at all of the peril and all of the possibilities, and thinks, yeah, this isn't it. There's more. I know there's more. And the good news is, you're right. There is. There is more. There is life abundant. But we need a community to help us see that. We need a community to hold us accountable to that, to give us the courage and the perseverance to live a life, to live that life, to be icons of that abundant life. Many people see the church as just one more voluntary association of like-minded, autonomous individuals, like so many other meetups and social clubs and fandoms. But that's not what the church is. That's not what this community of faith is. We are people who have been called out of the world and called into a journey with God, into a collaboration with God for the sake of the world, for the repair of the world. We are people who are destined to live and work in the world, but who constantly strive to never be conformed to it. We are, in other words, to coin a phrase, strangers in a strange land. We have Jesus. We have a sense of being called out of the world, or maybe just seeking something deeper, truer, more authentic. And whatever it else that this community has in common, well, that's up for you all to discover. Because any full understanding of what it means to be a community of faith, any comprehensive sense of what this particular community of faith truly has in common, that can only come from you. That only comes from you as you open up and share with one another and question and converse with each other. And I know many of you have been doing that for years, and some of you are only just starting to have those kind of conversations here. So in closing, let me offer a question that might help all of us stay focused on this sense of being called out of the world, that might help us frame what belonging to this community feels like to you, and how belonging to this community comforts you and challenges you and continues to change you. Okay, are you ready? Here's the question. Why are you continuing to say yes to this community of faith? Why are you continuing to say yes to this community of faith? Think about it. Ponder it in your heart. But please, please don't keep it there. Don't hold on to your answer. Share it with others. And listen to and absorb what others say to you. Be responsible to and for one another's stories, because it is through these ongoing conversations that God is going to work with us. It's through these conversations that God is going to work through us to ensure that this community will continue to sustain all of us. Amen.